First off, let's make it a bit interactive, wake everybody up and keep it going. How many people here are actually running SEO campaigns currently? Wow, okay. How many people are running social media campaigns? Wow. How many people have integrated their SEO and social media campaigns? Not as many hands as should be shown there. Okay. Right, first off, this is a very rapid fire presentation. I've got an awful lot of slides for no other reason than there's an awful lot of information to go through in 30 minutes. What I don't want to be doing is looking at the tops of your heads. Okay, so if anybody wants a copy of these slides, just ping me an email. My email address is there. Give me a phone. I'll send a copy of the slides to you. You don't have to write down what's on the slides. You can have them. All right, nice and easy. Okay, we're going to go through this pretty rapidly. I'm going to hopefully leave some time for questions afterwards. If I don't, we're at stand D21 over behind the stand here. Be delighted to speak to you there. This is not a sales presentation. Ta-da! One of the big problems I find when you come to these events is you come and sit down in a seminar theatre and somebody decides to tell you about their latest bit of software that's going to take the world by storm. This is not what that is intended to be at all. This is primarily to try and educate you, to make you think about what you should be doing with your own site, with your own internet marketing strategy. And the way we work is if we educate you, then you can do an awful lot more for yourself, and the bits that you can't do, funnily enough, you may actually come and ask us to help you. Okay? That's why we're here. So who are we? Oh, I've got to talk about my football bit in a bit, but we'll come on to that. Who are we? Well, MediaCo, we've been around since 1999. We seem to think we know what we're talking about. We've got a very wide client range, all the way from FTSE 100 companies all the way down to small to medium-sized businesses. So at the end of the day, I'm not here to talk about MediaCo. It just really establishes why we get invited to speak to these presentations. Funny enough, was anybody here at the PPC presentation I did this morning? One or two? You gluttons for punishment coming back a second time. There you go. Right, we speak on a range of subjects at these events, all the industry events that we're invited to, because we try and be educational. All right. So let's start off. What I don't want to do straight away is assume that everybody knows what SEO is. Okay, so what we're trying to do is make it nice and easy in terms of grouping things. I'm one of those people that's not a techie. My favourite joke is that 6 months ago I couldn't spell IT. So what I try to do is actually bring it down to nice, basic, simple terms. So let's group it. The three main elements: on-site, on-page, off-site. Those are the three groups. The on-site is your site up to the task? If you're actually trying to make an internet marketing strategy or a digital marketing strategy, you're trying to get conversions for your product, is your site able to do it? If your site isn't, your site's not built correctly, you're building on sand, because it doesn't matter what you're going to do, it's going to eventually collapse. It's going to not be up to the task. Assuming that site's okay, then we're going into the theme of content. What's your on-page content like? Right? How well written is it? Is it a copy of your brochureware? Have you actually spent time and researched it? Right? Is the content engaging enough for the people who are actually visiting your site? And then what we look at is the off-site elements. And by off-site, we're talking literally everything that's happening away from your site that's going to hopefully drive traffic back to your site. And what ties it all together is that dreaded thing, link building. Anybody here do link building campaigns? A few. Everybody hate link building? Yeah. Link building is dead. Long live link earning. Now, we're all talking about, I'll be talking later on about Google changes last year in terms of what they've done with various algorithmic updates. But link building has taken a bit of a battering lately, albeit it is still a major factor in terms of the way Google ranks sites. Okay, strategy, absolutely crucial. At the end of the day, let me tell you now, it is not about being on page 1 of Google. It's not about being number 1 on Google. It's about getting traffic to your site that converts. Because traffic to your site that converts brings the money in. And that's all your financial directors are interested in. So don't get hung up on positions on Google. What we're talking about now is a process here that's actually going to generate you visibility and traffic. And what you have to do is make sure that you're focusing in the right way. So number 1 option, right, is what do you want to target? Where do you want to get that traffic from? What type of people do you actually want coming to your site who are effectively going to buy from you? So, look at your online competition. How many people here did competitive research? Quite a few, okay? Because at the end of the day, your actual competitors, your real life competitors if you like, may be completely different to the guys who've got the online space. And if we're talking of digital marketing strategies, it's the guys with the online space that you actually need to overtake. So one of the things that you actually need to do, particularly in terms of words and phrases, because at the end of the day that's what people search for, we need to find out how many people are actually searching for those phrases, more importantly, who's already there, and benchmark what they're doing and how far ahead of you are they. And if they are way ahead of you in terms of their strategy, and in terms of their visibility, in terms of their key phrase coverage, in terms of their site ability to create conversions, Maybe you want to look at a different search phrase strategy because you could be spending all of your budget never to be able to compete with these guys. So it's all about benchmarking where you are, and from benchmarking you can then decide what is the most appropriate strategy that's going to get you a return, that's going to get you a return on investment and actually make your campaign successful. And I'll be quite honest with you, we get lots of clients who come to us and say, we want to be on page 1 of Google for X amount of phrases and we've got a budget of Y, and we look at what the budget and say, your budget's not enough because the people who are already there are people with very, very deep pockets. You are not spending enough to compete. Your project will fail. Do not come back to me in 6 months and say you've spent my budget and we're not on page 1 of Google, because I'm telling you now, you won't be. So let's look at a different strategy. Where can we better spend that money? Where can we really focus that budget? And where can we really look at the key phrases and the targets that are going to bring you the conversions? Okay, content. Well, content is king. Anybody heard the phrase content is king? We wrote the book about it 10 years ago, but that's another story. All right. A lot of people talk about content marketing as if it's brand new. Thank you for playing. Content marketing's been around since the internet's been around. Because at the end of the day, the internet is about content online. And by content, you're not necessarily talking about words and phrases. You're talking images, you're talking videos, you're talking PDF files, you're talking anything that could be construed to be content that you've created to market your message about your company. And all of that content can be linked together with the right key phrases, the right keywords, the right anchor text, etc. What is beautiful with the advent of social media over the last few years and really coming to fore is that social media is actually a beautiful platform of content marketing, because through social media you can distribute content about you, about your company, to your customers, to a direct target market. So content marketing, SEO, social media, the lines have blurred. Do not segment these campaigns and say these guys will do SEO, these guys will do PPC, these guys will do social media. Doesn't matter what agencies you've got working or whether you're doing it in-house, they all need to integrate, they all need to cross-pollinate. You need to learn lessons from each one, you need to maximize the impact from each one. Okay, I asked one of our guys, one of our techie guys, in fact he's around here today, so he'll probably laugh when I say this. I asked him to explain link building to me when link building was a prerequisite. This is the drawing that he came up with. I'm still having nightmares, still taking the tablets. So I tried to put it into a marketing message. And generally speaking, if you actually look around here, you know, link evaluation, iPhone widgets, software releases, ebook publication, if you follow the theme, it's all content. All of these are elements of content, and of course this is non-exclusive. There is thousands of other elements that I could put around here. Some are more valuable than others. Anybody here been doing article marketing? All right. Everybody heard about Interflora? Anybody heard about Interflora last week? One at the back. Thank you, sir. Oh, a couple at the front. Interflora aren't on Google at the moment. Oh dear. Interflora were naughty guys. They created a load of spun content, which basically meant it was the same content. They published it online through a series of articles, through a series of group pages. It was effectively paid links. They were paying to place pretty poor content onto paid sources and then generating links back to their site. And they did it in January for a Valentine's campaign. But they did it overkill. They weren't clever about it. They weren't strategic about it. They hadn't researched the market properly. They just blasted it all out there, and Google went, thank you for playing, you're gone. And they've taken Interflora off Google. If you search Interflora now, they're not even there for their brand. Well, they weren't last night anyway. Apparently they're trying to do something like getting their brand back. But that just shows if you do it wrong. But the biggest problem they did with it is the content they produced was bloody rubbish. You know, let's not beat around the bush. It was spun content. It was badly written, and they just changed words in it before they spun it round to all of these different sources. So effectively you had duplicate content issues, non-unique issues. It wasn't a good user experience. It's all of the Google elements of content. It was thank you. How many more mistakes could they make? And then they wondered why they've been knocked off Google. Right? If you follow the guidelines, write good quality content that's actually going to be useful for the person who's reading it and make them engage with you, guess what? That content is valuable and rich, and Google will rank you for it. And Google keeps changing the algorithm. Who's heard of panda and penguin? Yeah, any more black furry creatures in the horizon? Right. They've given a bad name to pandas and penguins. Basically what it was all about was basically Google trying to clean up the system, Google trying to stop people cheating the system, black hat techniques to actually make your site look more relevant. But if you've actually had a penalty for this, you can fix it. So I don't want to ask anybody to put their hands up saying anybody been penalised for this, but if you have, speak to a specialist, they'll be able to help you. But the guys who haven't had a penalty, what it's actually saying is, guess what guys, you're doing it right. you're following the guidelines, you're producing a good website that can be indexed, good quality content, right, good user experience. That means you are not following the Google algorithm. You're not having to react every time they do an update. You are following good business practice. But one of the key factors that came out of these updates last year was that Google now certainly is ranking social media influences, social media brand mentions, social media mentions in their own right. They are ranking those as very, very valuable in terms of your overall online experience. Who's got Google Plus? A few. Number one tip today, guys, if you want to walk away from here, if you haven't got a Google Plus business account, get one. Right? Integrate it with your blog, regularly update it, put some information on there. We'll talk about Google Plus a little bit more in a minute. But Google Plus, Google will tell you it has no impact on SEO rankings within the natural Google search listings. No, actually, when we've tested it, if you have got a Google Plus account, it does have an impact on your SEO rankings. Particularly if you're feeding it with regular, user-friendly, user experience content. Right? So in terms of the algorithm, what we say is you could actually keep adapting your site and keep adapting your strategy to change every time Google changes the algorithm. Well, actually, it's a bit like trying to compare Usain Bolt and Mo Farah. You know, the SEO system at the moment is more a Mo Farah. We're talking long distance, and Mo Farah will beat Usain Bolt over long distance every day of the week. But it's a long-term strategy, SEO. It is not an overnight. It's not a sprint finish. Bolt is not going to be there in 3 weeks saying you're on #1 of Google. It's not going to happen. All right? But if you're actually looking at a social media campaign and you need to get some good quality content out there, you can actually use social media, perhaps even PPC, as that ability to put content out there, quickly adapt it, which will then have additional benefit to your SEO campaigns. The game is changing. It used to be nice and traditional. It used to be get your content right, get your site right, and then do some nice bits of marketing, odd press release here and there, etc. It's not working. These outdated tactics no longer work, guys. It's all about interacting online. And when we talk about content marketing, there are literally thousands of elements of content marketing that you can look at. And all of these elements are about you putting good quality content on the internet for people to engage with. And if you can mention your brand in association to the key phrases you're targeting, guess what? Your SEO improves. You get more visibility, you get more authority, you get more traffic equals more conversions. Right? Is it a new way of thinking? I love that picture. Looking in two different directions at the same time. I feel a bit like me at the moment. Matt Cutts actually says, he's from Google, by the way, he's one of the Google bloggers. He said, if you think you need to be everywhere at once, you're headed in the right direction. And that's quite true. Because from a social media point of view, you need to be interacting with as many wide variety of social media influencers as you possibly can. So, you know, are you going to be the English team with the big lad up front, which obviously isn't me, right? And you're just going to keep lumping in the same old tactics, hoping it's going to work, or are you going to have a far more flexible, agile, fluid approach to your campaign and put your marketing, your content marketing, into sources and areas where it's actually going to bring you far more value? Right? It's not a new way of thinking. It's actually, if you were doing it right all along, you weren't penalised. There's old Matt Cutts with the Google red card. Anybody who got a penalty was because you weren't doing it right. Right? You were trying to cheat, you were spamming, etc. From our point of view, do it correctly. Make sure that all the links that you've got coming in are earned. Earned links are going to be far better than link building, link buying. And certainly if you've got paid links on your site, paid directories, etc., they are going to cause you a problem. Right? Google is actually changing the way it evaluates links. Some links have got a higher value than others. Right? What you need to have is a good content syndication platform of saying you know a valuable source that's already valued by Google that will receive content related to you and your product and range. But Penguin has been the bad boy. Penguin's the one that's killed an awful lot of people. What you have to do is then look at social media and say, well, hang on a minute, does it fit me? And I've just been speaking to somebody at our stand and said, yeah, social media for business is not all about Facebook and Twitter. There is an awful lot more in terms of social media. I mean, you can actually say these are some of the more common social media channels, but then you could say, well, actually, there's bloody thousands of them. And there are. There are literally hundreds of thousands of sites out there. So the part of the research element that you need to be doing is saying, right, where are your customers? Where are they speaking? Where are they interacting online? How are they engaging? What are they talking about? And how do you join that conversation? How do you become part of that marketing mix? So you're putting your authority message into the area that people are already engaging with. Some great comments here. I love this. Ben Franklin, write something worth reading about or do something worth writing about. That should have been written for social media. Right? Because if you've got nothing interesting to say in a social media platform, don't say it. There is nothing worse than people actually just filling up social media channels and social media content channels with useless information. It's not good, it's not user-friendly, people will not engage with it, it's just going to be good. And they'll probably miss out when you actually do put something engaging on there. And then dear old Daniel Day-Lewis down here, in his Abe Lincoln pose, I'm sorry for writing such a long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one. Another one of his famous quotes. That could have been written for Twitter. Right? Lots of people with Twitter accounts, particularly business accounts, they pick up the phone at Twitter, they're typing away straight away. You've only got 140 characters, you need to think about what you're saying, you need to have maximum impact from your Twitter account. Take your time. Actually spend more time on those 140 characters of Twitter than you would writing a page of A4, because you'll get an awful lot more value back. Don't tweet for tweet's sake. If you've got nothing interesting to say, don't say it. Right? And in terms of the authority part, all of these elements of social media, it's about building authority. It's about you building an authority, about you building your brand authority, you building your brand references. So in relation to keywords or key phrases, Google actually sees you as being that brand element, therefore you're an authority, therefore you're going to get listed higher. Presence, participation, promotion. Right? It's about engaging. Countless times I've seen people where literally they've set up a LinkedIn page, they've set up a Twitter account, they've set up a blog, they might have a Facebook account, and then I look at it and there's nothing happening on it, there's nothing engaging on it, there's no updates on it, right? It's there and it's there, but nobody is managing it. Right? People come along and actually look at it and there's nothing to engage with. Social media is all about being part of the conversation. Anybody here from HSBC? Good. Right, HSBC launched a Facebook campaign a couple of years ago. £2 million marketing budget to launch it. In the same week, they stopped free banking for students. Can you imagine what the Facebook chatter was about? It wasn't nice. There were some words in there I would not repeat. Right? They actually killed it. Anybody from Lloyds Bank? No? Lloyds Bank, even better. Fantastic. They launched an online campaign through social media to market this fantastic new product. And when you actually drilled down to it, you had to phone an 0800 number. It was aimed at students, right? Students normally interact, they're either going to interact through social media, Twitter, instant messaging. If they use their phone, 0800 numbers aren't free, so they're certainly not going to ring that number. So who actually thought about that campaign? Right? If you're actually going to put a campaign out there, think about it. Think about how it's going to engage with your audience. But don't actually think you've got to change everything. Social media, SEO, content, exactly the same. Follow the same rules. Make sure you've got the phrase in the page title. If you're looking at keywords or key phrases, make sure that Google knows what your content's about. Put it in the page title. It's not rocket science. What I see a lot of time on SEO with page titles, people put up their brand, or they put up a generic keyword, or they put up some meaningless statement. Put the keywords or key phrases you want to be found for. You're giving Google a clue. That's what this page is about. If you give them a clue, guess what? They might actually index you for it. Right? In terms of Google Plus, a few people said about Google Plus. One thing's in Google Plus, something called rel author. Anybody use the rel author coding? Oh, excellent, a couple of people. Right, rel author has been around for an awful long time. Right? You can actually type it. If you type in rel:author, Google will actually tell you what you need to do. And effectively what it's about is about looking at your Google Plus account, creating content and putting an author code on your content. And any content that you do, you put this author code on. And guess what? Google sees your author code of you talking about that subject matter in relation to those words or phrases. So you effectively, over a period of time, will become an authority voice related to those keywords and those key phrases. So if you are producing content and syndicating that widely, you need to make sure you put the rel author tagging in place. It's a freebie from Google. Right? It's not necessarily going to say you're going to be on number one tomorrow, but you are designing yourself as an authority, a voice for your industry sector, a voice for the key phrases that people are looking for. How many people use Pinterest? Quite a few. All right. Well, Pinterest for Business was launched back in about November. It's been around for about 15 months now. Massive levels of traffic, particularly in the US. Huge traffic. They've launched the business version now. If you've got a product that is image-led, if you've got pictures, have a Pinterest account. Get the pictures up there. You can tag them all with the right keywords and key phrases. You can actually then integrate your Pinterest back into your Google Plus account. You can have everything cross-pollinating. You can do a tweet about the latest pictures you've put up on Pinterest. Pinterest is an ideal image platform. And of course, what you can then do is replicate it across Google Images as well. So all of a sudden, all these images you've got of your pretty product, or service, whatever it is you might do, all of a sudden that image base is another form of content that's getting you mentions and visibility. Social media is two elements. You might have a social media campaign, which a lot of people might see as a Facebook campaign to get likes, etc., or it might be a Twitter campaign to get followers, or it might be a competition to get people to engage with you. Right? But what I'm talking about here is actually using social media for more of a digital marketing element, actually using it from an SEO perspective. So use your social media content, because what it'll actually do, the more mentions, the more content that you have out there, the more voice that you have in relation to your words and phrases, the more authority you are going to gain. The more authority you gain, the higher your positions in Google. The higher your positions in Google, the more traffic you get. The more traffic you get, the likelihood is more people are going to engage with you and actually convert on your site. You are suddenly finding that you've got an awful lot more supporters, and all you're doing is putting content out in the right way. Now, I'm a Wolverhampton Wanderers supporter, which at the moment is a very sad thing to admit. This is me sitting in the stand. Right? If you want to be a lonely, sad Wolves supporter like that, basically what you do is do it on your own. Stop, look and listen. Where is your audience? Where are they talking? Are they in the stand opposite? Perhaps you want to swap seats. Right? If you don't find out where the conversation is taking place before you jump in, you're sitting on your own over here. I like this one. This is the 4th largest house builder in the UK. This was on their Facebook posting for about 6 weeks, and when it had finished there was literally hundreds of these. Basically, there was a problem with them changing a lock on a window for this girl who just bought her new house. And she posted up a negative comment, and people started saying, yeah, I know what you mean, and yeah, they're not that great, and yeah, their customer service is rubbish. There was 97 odd entries on this. It was there for 6 weeks. Where was the guys actually managing their own Facebook campaign? They were just completely non-existent. If you're going to do it, do it. You know, if somebody's actually said, well, we've set up a Facebook campaign, we've got our own pages, it's brilliant. The MD goes and looks at that, he's not going to think it's brilliant. If you actually set these things up, you've got to make the time and effort, you've got to be there to engage with it, because it's all about getting the tactics right. And if you think Facebook isn't for you, don't do it. If Facebook is not where your audience are, don't do it. If your audience isn't using Twitter, then perhaps don't do it. Right? If you're in the B2B world, LinkedIn is probably more important to you than anything else. And then you need to use LinkedIn strategically, not just setting up your own pages and your own profiles, but where is the people you're trying to get to? What are they talking about on LinkedIn? What groups are they part of? Do you need to set up your own group? So you start to form your strategy, you start to form your tactics. Where can I actually make a difference to this conversation that's going to make a difference to my bottom line and get people to my website? Right? And be prepared to fail. Perfect for the England team. Right? Be prepared to fail. It's all about you giving it a go in the right way. But have a go, and if it doesn't work, you know, put your hands in the air and say, well, that didn't work. Let's try something different. Let's test it. Let's measure it. Let's move it round. Let's look at how we could actually engage with the audience far better. Right? I love that. Give yourself the competitive edge. This is what it's all about, because it isn't a level playing field. Because there are people out there who are ahead of you, potentially in SEO. They may be doing more than you in terms of social media. But if you actually look and you do that research, you do that research in terms of key phrases, competitors, social media interaction, where the conversation is taking place, and then you engage in good quality, user-friendly, sticky content that's actually going to get people engaging with you, guess what? You're tipping that field back into your favour, and you will certainly start to see a return on investment. One of the things that's actually changing, he says, speaking very rapidly, is this thing that Google now call non-desktop devices. To you and me, that's tablets and smartphones. Right? They're talking about the non-desktop device, where a lot of people now are actually doing research through their iPads, etc. And the period of traffic is between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. in the evening. But what they actually analysed through the Google stats was that the conversion rates in those times was actually less than between 9 and 4. So although the traffic was significantly higher through mobile devices or non-desktop devices, the conversion rate was significantly higher through desktop. Well, I don't know what that tells you for everybody's industry, and it may be different between B2C and B2B, but generally speaking, if you don't have a site that renders well on an iPad, perhaps you've got Flash on your site, or if your site doesn't render well on a mobile, maybe you want to have a look at that, and do you need to adapt your site? Do you need to have a mobile version? I wouldn't say you need to go all hog and say, I need to have a mobile app, but just make sure there's somebody searching for your site through a mobile phone, that they can actually see it. They can see a version of it that actually produces loads very quickly and works very, very well. Same with the iPad in particular. I was actually looking at a travel site a few weeks ago. Their whole site was in Flash. I got a blank page. I've looked at somebody else, I've gone to a competitor. You know, it wasn't because I wanted to go to the competitor, I just thought, I'm doing it now, I want to sort it out now. I can't see their site. I'm off. Right? What you've got to do is make sure that you're visible. Right? But you need a captain. And I don't know the size of your organisations, I don't know how many people you've got working within your departments that can actually handle this. You need somebody within your team or your organisation that's actually going to put the captain's armband on and drive this forward. Because, as I've said, it is not single entity. This is looking at everything as a whole. You need to have this cross-pollination, you need to have everything working together, you need to have buy-in across your company, and you need to make sure that every piece of content that goes out of your door, that's going off-site or even offline, needs to have the right words, the right phrases, written well, that's going to engage, that's going to get people tweeting about it, that's going to get people blogging about it, it's going to get people putting reviews about it, etc. If they engage with you in that way, they are creating far more social brand mentions, far more social key phrase mentions. It's going to have an impact on your overall visibility.